Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a 7-Eleven in Minecraft for all of your city building needs. For those of you that may not know, 7-Eleven is a convenience store, which means it sells pretty much everything. Anything that your heart could possibly desire. So if you've been looking for something like this to add to your Minecraft city, then look no further. I've got you. If you enjoy these sorts of tutorials, I make them every week. Subscribe to the channel and click the little bell next to the subscription button to ensure that you get all my stuff sent directly to your sub box. I'm not going to show you the inside of the build now, by the way, but I will actually show you how to build it, and I'll give you a nice 360-degree view of everything by the end of the video. So make it to the end to see the inside, but without any further ado, let's get started. Now, just before we begin building, ladies and gentlemen, here are all of the materials that we are going to be using for our 7-Eleven. This is what we will be using for the outside of our 7-Eleven, the building, the car park, all of that fun stuff. We will be using some more things later on, but I will show you all of the inside materials when we actually reach that part of the video. So just make sure that you have all of these and enough of them. The amount of space required to make 7-Eleven is a 20 by 25 block area. So do make sure that you have enough room to build this. I'd always recommend making the grid if you are planning out a city. It just helps so much. And that's it. Please pause the video if you have to, gather all your materials, make sure you've got enough room to make it, even build the grid if you like, wouldn't that be crazy? And when you are ready, we can begin. So step one, happy shop friends, we are going to come all the way to the front left hand corner of our grid. We are then going to count backwards by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then right by 1. If you've made the grid, we're both building in the same place in this starting position. If not, no big deal. On top of this block, place 4 terracotta. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go right by 2, 1, 2, and go down until you hit the ground. Join it up on the ground and place white concrete in the middle of this. I then want you to place back and to the right of the structure that you've made a row of 4 black concrete coming up from the ground. Go right of the upper black concrete by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Connect the 4th block down to the ground, and then continue going right of that 4th block by an additional 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Join it all the way down to the ground, and then extend that 4th block once more, this time by 3. 1, 2, and 3. And join that back down to the ground as you might expect. We then want to place a row of terracotta that sits in front of and to the right of this last row of black. It also wants to be 4 high as we made on the opposite side. You want to extend the top and bottom blocks to the right each by 2, and then join them together top to bottom, whilst also placing some white concrete in the middle. The end result should look like this. You will notice that one side is slightly smaller than the other 2 middle parts. That is fine. We are now going to extend the sides of our 7-Eleven backwards. We want to take all of the terracottas, all 4, and extend all of them backwards by 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And the same with the opposite side. I am quite happy that that first row is 15, so I'm going to extend them all back, join them together at the back, and then we have the task of making all of the terracottas as high as the ones on the front of the building. This is going to form the interior walls of our 7-Eleven. Now, there is no detail on the left, right, or back side of 7-Eleven. That does not mean that you can't add it. You can very easily add windows or an additional door or something like that to your 7-Eleven. I will show you why I haven't when we get to the inside, but I will leave the choice up to you. Now that we have done this, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to grab the white concrete. Now, we might have to delete a tad little bit of this later, but it's worth adding now. I want you to add a row of white concrete on top of the terracotta layer at the top of the building. This is kind of going to be where the ceiling is inside of your 7-Eleven. I also want you to extend it across the front to bridge the gap between the windows. We're also going to fill the top of 7-Eleven in it using white concrete, just to keep it nice and bright. You see, 7-Eleven isn't the lightest shop that I have made. It requires a lot of internal light, and when you use brighter and lighter colors for floors and ceilings, and preferably walls, although we're not doing that in this case, it will make your build seem brighter even if you haven't actually added a literal light source. Other ways around this may be to add a skylight or so inside of the building, but again, you're going to see why I have made these choices when we get inside, but you can alter them at your will. So, now that we have done this, ladies and gentlemen, now that we have forged the ceiling, I feel as though that we might as well do the floor. So, I'm going to dig all of the grass out involved inside of 7-Eleven, between all of the windows and between the two pillars at the front. I'm going to dig it all out whilst we're here, and we are going to replace it with smooth stone. And also, by the way, I think I'm also going to level behind the windows on the left and right side inside of the entrance. You'll find that you'll have the terracotta and white concrete row. Make it all terracotta and smooth off the wall. It'll be easier. You might lose a tad little bit of space, but it's really no big deal in the long run. I don't think that you'll miss it. Although if you think you'll miss it, then feel free to just leave it there. It's completely up to you. Now, why am I using smooth stone for the floor? You may be wondering to yourself, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just filling in the floor with smooth stone. It's the pathing material that we're going to be using outside. It's quite a bright material. And it also just kind of strikes me as the sort of material that one may use in a shop floor. I will also point out that I can barely see as we get towards the back of the shop. I just left a grass spot there, didn't I? Well, again, feel free to add windows, feel free to add in a skylight or so. If you're unfamiliar with what a skylight is, basically, you would knock a little area into the roof, you know, destroy some blocks, and you would replace it with glass. Therefore, you would get some nice natural light beaming down in to your 7-Eleven. That's a skylight pretty much in a nutshell. So feel free to add all of these techniques. But once more, there's a reason that I'm doing it this way, so I'll leave that up to you. There are some paths and stuff that we could add using smooth stone right now, but I'll leave that up to you later on as well. You see, the next thing that we're going to be focusing on, let's get rid of the smooth stone just because I'm itching to use it a little bit. And let's grab the iron doors. We are going to have a double iron door in between these two black concretes on the right side. We're going to use iron pressure plates, or weighted pressure plates, in front of and behind. So we have that nice sort of feel of an automatic door, as a lot of convenience places have. We are going to use a nice little mixture, and I'm going to get rid of the pressure plate and the terracotta, and I'm going to get white stained glass and black stained glass. We're going to have a mixture. We're going to place black stained glass block above the iron doors, and we're going to fill the remaining windows in using white stained glass paint to contrast heavily against the black concrete. I kind of like using the black glass above the doors because they are very white as well, but you could easily just, use white glass block above the doors also. I'm going to get rid of these glass because I don't really particularly need them at this point in time. And we're going to focus on these materials. There is a sign above our 7-Eleven that has the store's branding. I want you to begin by placing a quartz slab block in the upper left corner of the terracotta area on the right side of the build. Extend the quartz slab across the left side of the build, overhanging it by 1 row. You may even feel as though that you want to place some quartz slabs just above the window area. On the most rightest quartz slab, I want you to place an orange. Left of that, a white. Left of that, red. On top of that, place 2 more. 1, 2, and extend left by 1. Place a white concrete to the left, join down to the ground, fill the middle in, place white to the right of the 7, and place quartz slabs on top of all of this, extending the quartz slab to the right to overhang 1 row. On top of the orange concrete block, place a lime followed by a yellow. That will give us this. What we will now do is extend the orange, lime and yellow blocks across the top of the quartz slabs wherever possible. What's next? Lime. And we will create some nice branding. So these are the 7-Eleven sort of colours. We have orange, lime, yellow, and we have the patented 7-Eleven. And what we will now do is we will extend, where possible, this area backwards by, say, 2 or so rows. So we will extend all of the lime concrete, the yellow where possible, and all of the orange. You don't have to do the 7 part backwards, just to make it a little bit 3D. That's pretty much the entire point here. So when somebody looks at the side of your shop, they're going to be like, oh, it's 3D. It just looks a little bit better from the side with it being a bit chunky. You'll see that in a second, and I'll show you the difference. So, once you've extended all of that backwards, you'll be able to see that, and it looks really, really nice and fetching. But if you take a look like here, doesn't that look a little bit better than if it were just like one little row hanging off the side? I would also recommend extending red concrete in front of the black concrete area, left and right of the doorway. This kind of ushers people into the shop. What I mean by that is, like, it kind of shows people, like, if you don't see the doors, that's where you go, where the red concrete is. We've completed a significant amount of the actual shop in doing this. It's quite a simple outward design. But what I would also recommend doing is adding some further details. These details you can do at your own discretion. All of this, it completely depends on where your 7-Eleven is and what sort of style you're looking for. So feel free to do some of these, all of them, or none of them. Okay, so let's just dump some of these materials for a moment. We're going to grab smooth stone. We're going to grab grey concrete. We're going to need some yellow carpet. Additionally, we'll need some poppies, some oak leaves. We're even going to need paintings, crafting table, the banner, and we will need both colours, but we'll grab the other one as we can actually use it. So the first thing I want to do is create a pathway that leads from the edge of our grid to the actual front door of our 7-Eleven. These are 2 strict rows of smooth stone slabs, or smooth stone actually, just like this. I want to have 3 rows smooth stone in front of 7-Eleven. 1, 2, 3. So I want to have a decent walking area in front of 7-Eleven. And the reason for this is because you can put a couple of things out the front of your 7-Eleven. And I'm going to show you some of the examples of the things that you may or may not want to add in front of your store. Completely up to you. But the first thing that we have to do, as always, is lay down a decent foundation. You can even go as far as digging around the outside of your store if you like, and perhaps adding a little bit of smooth stone. As I mentioned, all of this depends on where your 7-Eleven is. Like, if it's next to another shop, you're probably not going to be able to add in some of these things. If it's in a city centre, something like that, then you're probably not going to be able to add a car park and stuff. But again, that's up to you. We actually need, silly me, some white concrete, but we can easily exchange that with the smooth stone. We're going to have quite long parking spaces. The parking spaces start here on the left, and they're comprised of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white concrete rows. You then dig out a row of 3 next to the 6 white concrete, and then you add in 3 rows of grey concrete, another row of white concrete directly to the right, and then 3 rows of grey concrete. So on and so forth until you're happy. I've designed there to be 3 parking spaces out in front of our 7-Eleven. There's actually space for a little bit more, but I've decided to go for something a little bit more nature involved. You'll be able to see when we actually hit that point, but again, follow the pattern. 3 rows of grey concrete, and you may also feel the need to make the spaces wider. That's also very possible as well. But the end result looks like this, and it merges together quite nicely. I always like to put yellow carpet at the end of the parking spaces as kind of a little bumper to say, don't drive your car onto the pavement. Really shouldn't have to be said, but you know, we're keeping it there. Okay, this little area to the right, I actually want to have some flowers. And unfortunately, I have placed a little bit of concrete as to kind of like, you know, as a grid. But I'm just going to destroy all this and place a bit of grass here. But the goal is to have a... I think I actually keep some of the white concrete because it kind of looks nice. I'm going to place white concrete around the inside corner of this area. And it also forms kind of like quite a nice looking path, like a kind of like 90-degree angle. And then if you place poppies around the inside of the path so that it's kind of nice and bright, and it kind of goes with the red of the store as well. And then I'm going to chuck a couple of oak leaf rows. It's actually not a couple, it's 3 rows. But just right in next to the flowers, it actually looks kind of good, doesn't it? That doesn't look bad at all. It's quite nice and inviting. The next thing that I would like to do is add a painting. So the reason that I left these 2 blocks white here is so that you can put stuff like, and this doesn't have to be a painting, this could easily also be, you could put like item frames and like offers on what sort of things are actually being sold inside of the store. I'll give you a few different options. So first, I want kind of like a double wide painting because quite oftentimes you'll find that they've got like advertisements and colourful pictures and stuff hanging on the side of like convenience stores. Like you could even have like another one here, like just to kind of show like, oh, we sell this inside. It's just to represent some sort of picture. What you can also hang in a few different places, and this will require the lime dye as well. You can add some banner with the shop's colours. So if you crack open a crafting table, and if you chuck an orange banner in the middle left of it, and you place a strip of lime dye coming up the middle, top to bottom, you grab the new banner and place it in the middle of the crafting table, and if you place some yellow dye coming top to bottom on the right side, then you will actually have the banner colours of the 7-Eleven, as if it's like a house from Game of Thrones, the house colours. But it's something that you can kind of just put there to represent the store a little bit. A couple of other things that I quite like the idea of adding. I like the idea of adding like a place to park a bike. So if you place a couple of iron bars coming out of the front of the store here, I actually quite like the idea. You could even have a similar sort of thing here on the right as well. But I do have some more ideas for you. Like this is what I'd have as like kind of like a base 7-Eleven. But what you might also want to add, say, is bins. And these aren't included in the item list because this is completely up to you. But if you wanted to make like a trash can, for instance, then a cauldron with like an iron trap door on top of it somewhere would work. So like say here and here. If you wanted to add offers for what sorts of things were on sale inside the shop, then you may want to get like an item frame. Maybe chuck a sign in there and just be like, I don't know, like soda. We'll go all American here, like soda. And then like, you know, where are we? Like $3. You know, that's probably not a good deal, is it? Depending on how many you get. And then you would put in there like, you know, maybe like a flower pot or something, because it kind of looks like a soda. Additionally, you might want to add what I quite like these as decoration, and I've used them quite a few times. If you grab a spruce trap door, and if you grab some black concrete or wool, any sort of black block is good, or any sort of like blank block. And then if you grab these 2 things, and then if you grab a a spruce fence gate, and then what you want to put in the item frame, so maybe like, I don't know, like a brewing stand or something, right? What you can do is you can place a black concrete block suspended off the floor. You place spruce trapdoors all the way around the block, like left side, like on the left, coming up, onto the top, coming down, and then maybe even one behind, although you don't have to. And then if you place a spruce fence gate in between, and you can either have it locked like that or open. And then you put an item frame in it and a brewing stand, and that kind of looks like an advertisement board. Or at least I think it does anyway. Additionally, some things that you might find like outside of a convenience store or shops in general is you might find like fun little like rides that kids can go on that you put money in, and then it like moves around and stuff. I definitely have some of these around like where I live. Like if you use some, say, smooth redstone stairs, something like that, and then maybe like we use some smooth redstone blocks, and then maybe like a birchwood slab, and then I'll show you. This might seem a little bit weird what I'm building at the moment, but we could even inverse these colors actually. But birch buttons might be good. We don't need tripwire hooks, and then like some sort of like maybe birch fence gate as well. And what you could make is kind of like one of those rides that like kids would go on. So like if we like extend it out of the wall here, leave a gap of one, have an upside down stairs, have the opposite one behind it like this. No, I want it opposite like this. And then if we make a head using like 2 red sandstone slabs, have like a birchwood slab sticking out, birch buttons on the side, and then kind of like handles using a birch fence gate like this, then that kind of looks like something that, like a kid would be able to ride. You could even use a fence or something. Or maybe you could even use a saddle, like using like a pressure plate or something. I don't know. It's just a small little silly detail that you can add. And you can keep going, and you can put them all around the shop. Like you can stick them on the sides. You can add more posters and stuff. But that's pretty much it. Like, feel free to do some of those. Feel free to do all of them. Feel free to not do any of those. That's completely up to you. But let's dump all of these materials right now whilst we have them. And what we're now going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we are going to add a little bit of detail to the inside of the build. So let me just grab all of the items that we do actually have on us, and then we can talk about the inside the build a little bit. Okay, so the reason that I just wanted to cut the video there a little bit, guys, is because I wanted to light up the inside of 7-Eleven a little bit. These are temporary lights, but I want to show you the materials that we can use that we have on us right now, that we will be able to use on the inside, and then we'll grab all of the other stuff. So you're going to need to use your white concrete, quartz slab, iron doors, paintings, and if you have any, the banners that we used on the front of the build, although these aren't necessary. So grab all of those that you should already have in your inventory, and we're going to come inside 7-Eleven. So we're just going to set up a couple of things whilst we do have the materials. So behind the doorway, where we have the black concrete just left of this door here, I want you to specifically leave a gap of 2, 1, 2, and then place a row of 7 white concrete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want you to place a white concrete on the wall, leaving a gap of 1 from the 7th block, but the right side you can connect it to the wall. Above the single white concrete block, leave half a gap and place a quartz slab, extend right by 2, leave a gap of 2, and then place 2 more quartz slabs. And those are basically just shelves, ladies and gentlemen. That's all there is to it. What I then want you to do is, I want you to, from the right side of this counter, like this right front, the first white concrete block that we place, I want you to leave a gap in the ground coming towards the back of the store. 1, 2, 3. Leave a gap of 3, and then in this position here, I want you to place a quartz block. Place another one on top, a quartz slab, extend that slab to the right by 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, join it down to the ground, like this, and then we're going to extend this backwards by 2 rows, so the whole thing backwards by 2 rows, like this. And this is basically just going to make up some shelves. That's all this is, pretty much. So We're just going to use this to make up some shelves. I'm going to place some white concrete in the middle of this with some quartz slabs halfway up. So again, these are just shelves that you'd put any products that you wanted to on these. Now, specifically on this back wall, like as you walk in, now this is going to sit, no, we'll do this, we'll actually do that after. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. So in this very back corner of 7-Eleven, like this back left-hand corner, I want you to place 3 white concrete coming up from the ground. 1, 2, 3. Extend them up 1 row towards you. I then want you to, from the edge here, I want you to leave a gap of 1, place an iron door, and then place 2 more rows of white concrete coming out from the wall to meet the door. I want you to do this a few times in total, so we're actually going to do this again. We're going to leave a gap of 1, place a door, and then place 2 rows of white concrete coming out from the back of the building. Leave a gap of 1, this is the last time, place an iron door, and then 2 rows of white concrete coming out from the wall. And we're going to place, I'm going to destroy these lights because these are temporary, and I'm just going to place some quartz slabs on top of these. And these are basically just little freezers, like what you might keep, you know, frozen meat and stuff in. Now, on this wall, this small little space here, again, this is going to seem weird, but we actually want to place some paintings on this wall. And I want to make sure that I get the size of the paintings right, ladies and gentlemen. We want to place 2 double wide paintings, like 1 here and then 1 here, except I don't want those because they're ugly. So maybe like the skull's okay, and then maybe like the karate guy, he's okay. And those are just some like promotional posters like throughout the build. And if you want, you can even hang, say, like a banner or so, like kind of like around a little bit, so maybe like hanging from these sorts of parts of the building behind the windows. You can always add some more paintings, and you can add some item frames and stuff, but that's pretty much all the foundational work that we have to make for the inside of our 7-Eleven. What we're now going to do is we are going to grab all of these materials that you can see on the screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's going to be quite a lot of weird materials that we're going to be using, but I wanted to lay the foundation for some of the inside. So please, make sure that you have access to all of those materials that you can see on the screen. Make sure that you can get enough of them. And once you're ready, we can begin. Alright, so I have just finished gathering all of the materials that I think that we're going to be needing. You should have seen the item list. Please, pause the video if you have to. Gather all of those materials, make sure that you've got enough of them, and once you're ready, we can decorate the inside of 7-Eleven. So the first thing that we have to do, of course, is come inside of 7-Eleven. And you'll notice it's now dark in here. Well, what we're going to do is place some torches behind the top corners of the windows, like that. And that'll kind of start us off a little bit. Additionally, feel free, more than welcome, to add some torches, like, around where the shelves are. Feel free to place them all over the place. You can even have some skylights in the roof, all sorts of stuff. But this area needs a lot of light, so you can add torches on the shelves, you can add it above the freezers and stuff, the fridges, and you'll probably manage to accrue enough that you can actually be able to see. I want to create some of those like tube lines that you can quite often see in like stores and stuff, and these are quite easy to make, and you might like these or you might not, but here you go. So I'm going to place these like where the black concretes of the doors and windows are. I don't know whether I'm going to place them above the counter, but I'm definitely doing it above where these like 3 torches are. And the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to place like a grey concrete in front of this torch, right? And I'm going to place 2 end rods on the end of each other like this. And then I'm going to place another light grey concrete on the end of the end rods. And then I'm going to leave a gap of 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. So, grey concrete, 2 end rods, and then grey concrete like this. So, it kind of looks like a weight that like a bodybuilder would use, or something like a barbell, but that's what we want to have so far. And we're going to do this coming down the store. So, like where this torch is here, we're going to have the same. So, a couple of end rods with light grey. You leave a gap of, how many is that? A gap of 2 in the ceiling. and then a couple of end rods, light grey. And we're going to do this 3 separate times. So 1, 2, and then back here as well, keeping in line with where the torches are. And this is going to provide us some light, so like a gap of 1, because end rods luckily provide us some light as well. So we should end up with quite a nice bright shop. And I'm going to try this here, as I'm going to try it above where the counter is, the cash register, but I don't know whether I'm going to like this or not. So this is experimental. So here, here, and here. So we've got that, like where all of the black concretes are, where the torches are, we've got this. Now, this looks horrible, but if what you do is you destroy the light grey concretes and you use levers or levers like this, it looks as though that it's hanging from the ceiling. It actually looks pretty good. Like, if you've seen these sorts of lights before, you should know what they look like. It's why is it so tricky to place these? There you go. Like, it looks like some nice sort of industrial lighting that's just hanging from the ceiling. Like, it's a different way to light up the place as well. Like, it's kind of like a cool different sort of light. It just kind of sort of makes sense in a convenience store, because this is kind of what you have. And that makes that sound, you know, when like you hear in movies, or if you've turned them on yourselves, like some of you, like it's a common thing to have like in a garage and stuff as well. I have them. Like when you turn it on, like there's kind of that delay, and then you hear like the electricity noise. It's like dun dun, and then it kind of like lights up. If you know what I'm talking about, it's kind of just like a cool, interesting way to light up the place. So you can see, isn't that kind of cool? I don't know, feel free to just chuck glowstone in the ceiling if you want to, but that's just my little idea there. And what else can you do? Well, I kind of want a drinks machine in the back right corner of this area. And the way that we make the drinks machine, I'm going to chuck the torch and the emeralds away for a second. I'm going to grab polished andesite and oak trapdoors. And in this corner, I'm going to have an upside down polished andesite, stairs, oak trapdoor in front of it, 2 blue concretes on top, and left of this, red concretes, like this. So it kind of looks like a Coke or a Pepsi machine or something like that. I'm going to chuck item frames in the middle, buttons on top, and later on I'll chuck some actual like products inside of those item frames. All the way here on the opposite side, the front right corner, I kind of want a cash machine. This cash machine is made by using the grey concrete on the ground, light grey concrete on top. We'll chuck a slab on top of that as well in a bit. But we'll place like an item frame in front with a button in front of this. Like that. You know what? Let's actually finish the things that we're making instead of like bouncing around a little bit, okay? So we're going to place a gold ingot inside of this. Just because it kind of sort of looks like a cash machine. On here on this opposite side, again, we'll finish what we're actually building, and we're going to chuck a couple of potions in here so people kind of get the vibe that this is where you would, like, you know, you get a drink from here, a cold drink. This area here, I like the idea of having, like, selling sort of like clothes and stuff. So, like, if you just chuck an armor stand and a chest, maybe like a couple of armor stands and a couple of chests, and if you place kind of like item frames and stuff, like sometimes you can buy like hats and sunglasses and what have you from these stores. Again, feel free to do whatever, you know. But if you want, I mean, you could even sell like weapons here. I mean, this is a Minecraft store, you know. Maybe you could chuck like a diamond helmet on one, diamond sword in the other, and then, you know, like you sell swords and stuff. Or again, chuck whatever you want inside of there instead. So when it comes to the counter area, again, we'll do this like as we're going around. When it comes to this counter area, we want to have a few things. So I want to have kind of like an option to buy some drinks from behind the counter. That'll require a brewing stand, a flower pot, maybe even some cocoa beans. We'll need furnaces, and we'll need chests, and a weird thing, I kind of want to sell like toys and stuff behind here, so maybe some like heads and stuff, kind of like toys. I want to place a sea lantern. It's not a sea lantern. A regular lantern on the counter, like somewhere here, just to keep it bright a bit. But behind here, like, again, you know how some stores, like, you can get, like, hot food and stuff, like, maybe some, like, chests here, maybe a couple of furnaces to cook up the food, maybe, like, another chest here, sell some toys, like, some plush toys and stuff on this counter behind here, so chuck a couple of heads. You could even hang one off the wall to be a bit different. Maybe, like, drinks on this top counter shelf here, so a couple of brewing stands with a flower pot. You could even, like, label it a little bit with some, like, item frames and some cocoa beans, so maybe like just above here, you know, something like that. You could do a similar sort of thing here. You could use some stairs as kind of like extractor fans, like above these. And by the way, this also makes a good cash register looking block, a stairs block. And then you could add, if you wanted to, like, this is something that we don't have on us because these are all optional. Like, a lot of these items are going to be optional, but I'll try and keep things as best I can. Maybe you can, like, sell sandwiches, like, as well, like, above where these are, or maybe you could even have, like, these here, you know? And again, all different sorts of choices. And on this counter as well, I kind of like the idea of decorating it a little bit. So maybe like a flower pot, some poppies, maybe even like place a little bit of a weighted pressure plate like left and right if here. And maybe even have like a plant pot with a poppy in it just to keep things nice and decorated a little bit. And I mean, that's quite a lot of detail that we've added towards the front of the shop. What I'd like to do is I'd like to talk as well about the fridge/freezer area where you can buy like frozen food and stuff. So first of all, we need to add shelves. So like polished andesite stairs and some item frames here, right? We're going to need levers/levers, and you might even feel like you want to add a light in the bottom of these freezers. So like a sea lantern, actual sea lanterns will be quite good. So like if you just destroy the 2 back floor parts inside of these freezers and you place some sea lanterns in there, and then if you place upside down polished andesite above, and that acts as kind of like a shelf, and then you can have like item frames in here that are going to act as though there's like food and stuff being sold, like. And what we're also going to do is we're going to use some light blue glass block just to fill up these. And then later on, when we've got a bit more room in our inventory, I'll show you what you can add to those item frames. And I'm going to be doing a similar thing to a lot of the shop as well. So these are also shelves, so feel free to add some item frames and stuff to these shelves. Feel free to maybe add the occasional chest in the middle. These are shelves that you're going to keep items and stock on, so you might be selling, you know, sweets, you might be selling some, you know, food, you might be selling something a bit more important. That's what these shelves are for, so feel free to item frame them up and then choose some stuff to put in those item frames later on. When it comes towards the back of the store here, we have to do a little bit. When it comes to the back of the store, we're going to need some oak wood slabs, and we're going to need books. We're going to need the bookshelves again. We're even going to need item frames, and on this back wall we're also going to use like light grey concrete, and we're going to use some grey concrete. We're very, very cluttered at the moment, but here's what we're going to do. In this back corner, we're going to place a row of 3 oak wood planks coming up from this corner block. 1 plank, 2 planks, 3 planks. And then on top of that 3rd plank, place an oak wood slab and extend it to the right by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then join it down to the ground using oak wood planks. Place bookshelves down at the bottom, connecting the sides together. And then you can even join it up in the middle if you like. But we also want to place like chests, and you want to place like item frames above the chests and some books in there too. So like this is just kind of like a library area. Like this is like a bookcase, and you've got some bookshelves. You could even just straight up use bookshelves if you wanted to, but I think it's kind of like an interesting touch. And to the right of here, we've got another drinks machine, which is basically like we're going to leave a gap of 1 and just place like grey concrete, light grey concrete, grey. You can even add a couple of chests like left and right here. But we want to have sort of like a similar setup to what we have at the front, so like a brewing stand. We're going to have like a flower pot, maybe even some cocoa beans, and we'll just place like a couple of brewing stands, a flower pot, and we'll just have like the item frames above with the cocoa beans as well. And you could even build them up to the top of the ceiling if you wanted to. Another thing that we're going to have in this back area here is we're going to need for this some spruce trap doors, and we're going to use carved pumpkins and also melons, but you could use different fruits or whatever these are. I don't eat fruits and vegetables, I don't know which they are, but we're going to place basically just right in the middle here between these shelves and this back corner, we're going to have like a 2x2 like area where we're going to sell pumpkins. And on this other side here, we're going to have like a 2x2 area where we sell melons. And you're just going to use like spruce trapdoors to place a barrier around them. So you've seen this at like supermarkets probably, and probably to a lesser extent like places like this, maybe farmers markets or whatever, but basically just kind of like selling some fresh fruit and veg and what have you back here. And you can put different carpets on them to change the texture and what have you. And you can even, like, if you want to label it out, like you can put like, you know, like pumpkin. And again, we'll keep this American since this is like an American store, like, you know, like $1 or something, you know? And you can have little labels on them, and it just looks a little bit more authentic. But that's like a huge amount of detail that we've applied to the store. One last thing that I would actually like to do before we start adding stuff to item frames and stuff is I'm just going to clear all these. I didn't have enough room for them, but I like the idea of having some like carpet spread around, like especially in front of here. I like the idea of have like right in front of the countertop, like this is how the pattern goes. It goes like orange, lime, yellow, orange, lime, yellow, and then another orange. And I just like the idea of having like the shop's colors kind of like spread out amongst the shop a little bit. So maybe like here, and then if we can get it, so like maybe like just in front of these freezers and stuff, like again like orange, lime, yellow, just only if you can, because it's a bit bland, you know, in the shop a little bit. Like the floor's a little bit boring, but wherever you might be able to add it, and it's hard to add a lot of it, those two places are pretty much the main areas, but it's kind of like a nice little thing to have. And then when it comes to like fixing up all of the item frames and stuff, like what sort of things do you want to put in the item frames? So like these ones at the front of the shop, for example, like do you want to sell swords, you know? Feel free to put swords in there. Like on the back part of this, like do you want to sell, you know, axes? You guys get the idea. Feel free to fill up the item frames with stuff that you actually want to include in your shop. When it comes to the freezers, we want to be able to open them too. So that requires levers or, you know, some sort of opening device. But inside the freezers, you're going to want to have some like meat or something that makes sense that you'd store on ice. You know, you could have like, where's the raw meat? Where are we? Oh, raw meat, where are you? This is only cooked, right? Yes. Huh. I'm so dumb. Oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. So like if you want, you can like, you want to be able to open these freezers, number one. And then you can put some like meat in there, or again, like you could have frozen pizzas, although pizza isn't an item, but you guys get the idea, right? You know, you just want to fill them with stuff just to add to the detail. And I'm sure that there's more details that you could add around the shop, you know? You can add like here, like you could even add like a small window. Like you could add like a window here if you wanted to. And you'd probably use some glass, like a white stained glass pane. Like here, like if you wanted to add a window to the store. There's really not that many places for windows. The only other opportunity is if you change the configuration of this a little bit, you could add a window here. But again, like you could add more like around the store if you wanted to. You could add more item frames with more of this in, and you could sell magma cream, I don't know. Like here, and then like you'd put right magma cream in there, and you can just sell all sorts of stuff like advertisements everywhere. Like you can have just write little signs, books are this much, books are that much. You guys get the idea. Like any space, like these places are supposed to be quite cluttered. That's kind of the idea. So like, you know, any sort of space that you want to fill, it'll look good no matter what you do. And that's it. Wow, well done, guys. That is a lot of building that we've done. So just before we close out this tutorial, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to give you a nice 360-degree view and a look inside of the building now that it has been complete. So just make sure you've not missed anything. On the front of the build, we have parking spaces, we have some nature, we have plenty of advertisements out in front of the building, we have a place for kids to play, a couple of bike racks, we have a board sign, we have some posters, we even have the shop's colors and some nice branding up on the front. As we move around the shop, you won't notice very much detail whatsoever. The only fresh detail is the fact that we added a window here on the right side, and there is opportunity for more growth on the inside as well, depending on whether or not you want to change some of the interior. When it comes to the inside of the build, this is where things get messy. We have a cashier area where you can buy food, you can buy drinks, you can buy toys. We have an ATM just right of the inside the door. Plenty more posters, more advertisements, plenty of light. We've got like a drinks machine in the corner, a place to buy like clothes / weapons just next to the drinks machine. We have a place to get food, some fresh frozen food if those two words can kind of go together. A place that we can sell whatever it is we're selling that particular day, whether it's axes or swords. We have some fresh food here, melons and pumpkins. We have drinks back here. This is kind of like a coffee sort of machine here if you don't want to go to the front of the store. We even sell books here as well. Aren't we fancy? And again, like, it's just like a nice cluttered mess, and I love it. It looks so it looks so cool in here. I really love how the interior is laid out. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, please do remember to hit that like button, as it really helps me and the channel out very, very much. This was kind of like a crazy one to build. I didn't realize how long it would take us, but I'm glad that we've managed to do it, and it looks great. If you have enjoyed this tutorial, please do remember to subscribe to the channel and click the little bell next to the subscription button if you're interested in checking out what I'm going to be making in the future. Best thing you can do. The reason that I made 7-Eleven, ladies and gentlemen, as you might have seen at the start of the video, is because you guys suggested it. So feel free, if you want to be featured at the start of some of these videos, maybe the ones in the future, then please leave a suggestion at the start of the video, leave a comment, and I may make what you want to see next. Who knows? Best way to see if I do is subscribe. You see, it all comes together. And if you would like to make some of my other past creations, I'm putting together a little city here. Then check out the card system, description below, and I show you how to make all sorts of different things. It's not always the same thing every time. It's not always restaurants. It's not always bakeries. It's not always game shops. It's not always 7-Elevens. It's so many different things, ladies and gentlemen. You can check all of this out in the card system, description below, and at the top of the pinned comment section as well. You'll be able to see it right there. But thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all of you so much. I really do. I appreciate all of you so much for loving this series, for liking the videos, for leaving suggestions. I love you all very, very much. I'll see you in the next one. Good.